I'm Just Saying is sponsored by Hover.com. Go to gfu.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an easy-to-use online invoicing service that saves you time, gets you paid faster, and makes you look professional. Get started completely for free at freshbooks.com. And by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook by going to audiblepodcast.com/GFQ. Hey everybody, welcome to I'm Just Saying. I'm Andrew Zarin. I'm joined by Lon.
I am.
How you doing, Lon?
I'm tired, but good.
Good. Ready for Christmas?
Yes, actually I am. I'm surprisingly all gifts. The only thing is the gift wrap barrage, but Joe does that. She sort of sits down in one evening and just wraps everything. It's like
you don't do the bags?
No. She does wrapping as art form. The ribbons are intense and everything. She spends time with them. But what she'll do is we'll do something like we'll put on one of the Christmas specials that we have on DVD and watch a couple of those while she wraps.
And get inspired to wrap well.
And then she tells me to put my finger in places and to hold bows while she does stuff.
What do you guys do for Christmas?
Christmas has been pretty traditional the last, particularly since her parents passed away. We've been doing pretty consistently. Christmas Eve, we go to Staten Island for the Feast of the Seven Fishes that all Italians do.
Yeah.
This is a 7-fish meal, which is interesting because Joanna doesn't eat fish.
Does she eat it that day?
No. What she'll do is the fried shrimp is one of the things. So she'll have fried shrimp and a lot of salad.
Okay.
And that's what but Joe doesn't eat if Joe eats a plate, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
So we do that, and that's Joanne's cousin who's it's actually the widow of her cousin.
Okay.
And their 3 kids, the kid that's like 6, 7.
But before you would go to Joe's family?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would on Christmas Eve we used to just Christmas Eve was ours. We did it by ourselves because everyone had big families. So we would go over to her parents for like an hour or so and open a present because her whole family got together on Christmas Day and everyone opens presents in front of everyone.
I find that weird.
What?
The whole opening up the presents in front of everybody.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, me too.
Joe and I don't give each other presents.
No?
No. Only because what we want from each other is time with each other. So we'll buy tickets for a play.
Okay.
We'll say, okay, let's spend the money on a cruise. Let's go to a concert that we've always really wanted to.
So you do like Christmas stuff together.
Yeah, that's
your Christmas.
Yeah. We're going to a thing off my bucket list. I know it seems like a silly thing, but I'm taking one of my former students and her son, who's now 10 years old, to see the Radio City Christmas show.
Oh, that's nice.
I've never seen it, and one of my former students is in it. She's a Rockette.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we're getting the backstage tour and everything.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Pretty girl. Whew.
We do.
And she's now married to the guy who's playing Jerry Lee Lewis in the $1 Million Quartet.
What year is she from my year or now? Or before me?
You're all 1 year now.
Yeah.
You're all 1 year.
That group, right?
Yeah.
It's like a 4-year group. It becomes 1 year.
Yeah, kind of. And then those 4-year groups meld into each other.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's just I taught 1 year, and I had 3,000 students. That's and half of you, I remember your names. I used to remember every single one of your names, including all 6 kids named Stephen Lee.
And James Kim.
Yeah, I mean
all 15 James Kims.
Yeah, I actually the other school that I taught in had 3 Stephen Lees, 1 from each race.
That's so fun. Do you run into a lot of them that you have no idea who they are? Well, like not even a face.
Particularly the boys, because the boys, were all like they hadn't gone through their growth. Many of them hadn't gone through their growth spurt, so they're now like 6'2" and have like full beards and baritone voices, and they're like, "Hi, Mr. Blaze, remember me?" And I'm like,
"No clue,
no,
not a
clue." Maybe sometimes if they look like their dad, and I remember the dad, that kind of thing. That's the only condition I usually remember.
We do for Christmas. Jess and I. Every year, this is the first year we're really not doing it because we didn't want to really go crazy with Christmas. And I went overboard with her birthday between Le Cirque and the car service.
I took Joanna to Le Cirque for her birthday.
How'd you like it? How'd you like it?
It was okay.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, I was like...
I had the foie gras.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you like foie gras?
I've had good foie gras.
Okay.
This one was awful. It was like Mandarin spice.
Yeah, and it's like, I suppose if I were uber rich,
I would love it.
I would like, go, it wasn't great. I've had better.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're paying like through the nose for this stuff, it's like.
Well, we did the whole tasting, the chef tasting menu.
Oh, okay.
And it was generally, I know Jess really well.
Yeah.
And I know she probably thought it was awful. But she's not saying it's awful.
Yeah.
She's going running. You're going running? There you go. And there's the dog. So I don't know really how bad it was. But it was okay.
Aggie gets jealous of this.
Look at this.
Love between the species. It's the most taboo kind of love.
So when did you guys go?
Go where?
Le Cirque.
I went on her. I went on a monumental birthday of hers. I won't mention the number because that's a man doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And live. Actually, she has a. Okay. Joanna is over 50. Okay. And she's been talking about what she's going to do for her 60th birthday. She totally thinks that she's going to embrace it. I've told her, she looks really great for her age, and at a certain point, you've just got to be proud that you look good and be older.
Yeah.
Okay? Hey, the not sweet 16s, but almost like sweet 15s that Hispanic girls have called the quinceañera.
Yeah.
She has decided she is going to have quinceañera 4.0.
Can you get him?
Yeah. He's cool.
Okay.
I'm good. Unless this freaking you out, I'm good.
No, I'm okay.
You know me. I love the animals. So she's gonna have quinceañera 4.0.
Yeah.
She's gonna with the giant dress and like the whole bit.
I'm surprised you guys don't do the gifts on Christmas.
We used to go nuts.
Yeah.
But what we found was, one year we were running around buying gifts for family, and we were so crazy with that. The gift we gave each other was not giving each other gifts.
Yeah.
It was like we said, and we went out that year, that first year that we decided not to do it. We went out after Christmas, and we bought each other a bunch of stuff that was on sale, and we got like twice as much as we were ever going to get.
Yeah, we do like a lot of little gifts and like 2 big gifts.
Yeah. One year
but this year we didn't do that.
One year we did. I bought her one of everything she uses. So I got like her mascara and her, blush and one of everything. So
see, as a kid, what's more important? I think you go through phases like opening up a lot of gifts
or
opening up like one really good big.
Yeah. She gave me, after our life turned around,
Yeah.
she gave me a couple of things that were.
You can get them.
This is just everyone.
No, you're off camera. Just grab them. Thank you. Are you? What are you looking for?
Continue.
Okay.
I'm not bothering you.
Okay.
I'm not here.
No, I'm not here. I'm not walking around the studio searching and letting the dog loose.
We bought a couple of things that we always wanted. The watch I have, you know the watch? I have one watch. I'm not a watch guy, but there was one watch that I always liked. There's a Hamilton watch, and the face of the watch looks like a pie slice.
Okay.
It's triangular on 2 sides and rounded on the other. It's very cool, very Art Deco.
Yeah.
And I've always liked it, and it's the one watch I have, and it's not even $1,000 watch. You know what I mean? It's not
like
absurdly, to me, like I've always said about the Rolex, I said, for that money, it has to tell time better, better than other watches that tell time.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
What are you looking for? Your headphones? You're looking for your headphones.
Why is Jess acting in mime?
It's up there, dope. Look, they're hanging. All the headphones are hanging. I don't know. She's searching around like she got hit in the head.
Well, I was trying not to be loud.
Is this Christmas head trauma?
I think so.
I was trying not to be loud and interrupt your show.
It's like you're going shopping at Macy's. Let me just walk around here in front of things. Oh, are you doing a radio show?
Did you
Is that what goes on in this room? Don't mind me.
have you been shopping with her?
Disruptive, you didn't tell a play-by-play. Like if you just let me come in and look for the headphones and didn't.
No, that was never going to happen.
How long have you been here?
Yeah.
Everything is fodder for the show.
No, that was never going to happen.
Everything is fodder for the show.
It wasn't like it wasn't like a
Have you
1
been-
minute, like, let me look. You're actually shopping in the studio.
Jess, you did everything shy of this. Did you have to go shopping with her?
No.
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 Do you ever?
No.
Oh,
No,
see,
we don't go shopping.
I shop with her. Oh, did you hear? Okay, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. If we get a lawsuit, I apologize.
Okay.
They can take me for all the money I make from this show.
Okay.
Do you know that Michelle Bachmann's husband runs a group that says that they can program people out of homosexuality?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, okay? But then I read an article where she said, I couldn't do this without him because he like picks out all my clothes and everything. I'm like, yeah. I was like, wow, really?
The people that are really against something,
Yeah.
I really start questioning
I
what
was
they
talking
think.
about that. Have you seen, you have plans to see J. Edgar?
No.
Yeah. It's supposed to be really good. About J. Edgar Hoover, Leonardo DiCaprio is
Mm.
playing him. He'll probably get nominated. He and his chief assistant.
Oh, I mean, the rumors were that he was gay.
Right. But what it seems like is that they were gay, but they never manifested it. They just kind of hovered around each other. But I'm thinking if you're in charge of the CIA and you think, gee, look at what I, as the head of the CIA, am capable of hiding, and he didn't hide it perfectly well. What are other less good people than me hiding?
Well, the story is that he had so much dirt on everybody else.
Yeah.
And he created, it was the FBI or the CIA?
CIA.
No. He was the first director of the FBI.
FBI, excuse me.
Yeah. He had so much dirt on everybody else, nobody could ever out him. Because if he did, it would have been career suicide for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that was the
that's
story.
how afraid he was of being outed.
I mean, at that time, you're talking about 19...
But I sometimes think people who are...
You're talking about 1935.
Who have like really have very have a part of their life that they kind of keep from the public or need to keep from the public, a lifestyle choice of some kind. They think that everyone else has one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
I've always said all liars think everyone lies, all thieves think everyone steals.
I mean, you have to remember he was around during Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon.
Yeah.
I mean, he was through all of it.
Yeah.
So imagine how much he knew.
Well, someone like made a deal with him. One of the presidents, like he was going to let him go, and it was like, oh no, never mind. I didn't mean that I was going to fire you, because it came back like you don't do that to J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, I mean, there were stories that he was the most powerful man in Washington over the president.
On a certain level.
On a certain level. It was very interesting.
Yeah, unreal.
But back to the holiday stuff. I've always been crazy about not getting the gift before. Like, I've done it, and I've gotten a gift before Christmas, and then Christmas is miserable because you're done.
You received the gift?
Yeah. Like, I've gotten it.
Yeah. I gave Joe a car one year. I actually did the big bow.
But that's like a big thing.
Yeah. No. It wasn't all that expensive. I bought it on eBay. It was an old. I bought another Camaro.
It's still a big gift, though.
I drove it from Florida.
Oh, the Camaro.
One of the weirdest things I ever did is I said, "Okay, I'm going away for a day." Why? I can't tell you.
She's like, this can't be good.
And she was like, "All right." I said, "I'll be back. I'll be back very late tomorrow." And
So you drove down and you drove back?
No. I flew down.
Okay.
Early in the morning, one day, and I was in Florida by.
Where in Florida did you get it from?
Orlando.
Okay.
Not in the scary places in
Yeah.
Florida. Florida has some very scary places. Florida is the one that
you know how much I hate it, right?
We're jumping. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I am so not a Florida person. Disney World and the Keys. I like the Keys. Miami's kind of cool, but Miami's cool for like 15 minutes, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Everyone's pretty and thinks they're better than everyone else. Got it. And I'm not, I'm not young enough and hip enough for Miami, so, they can go play on, by themselves.
I've never.
You're young and hip enough for Miami, though.
Yeah, but I hate Florida. Florida just makes me feel weird.
Yeah, it's just
than I am already. It just makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it makes you feel weird, anyway, we're going on.
It's a very uncomfortable place. It's Florida has a smell. Florida has, and I could smell it. If I think about it, I could just smell it now. Has a very distinct smell.
Yeah, and the air wraps around you too tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird stuff happens in Florida. You're absolutely right.
Well, the whole, I don't know, this week
in
the news, a family values group or family church group in Florida protested Lowe's for them advertising on American Muslim, the reality show, and Lowe's pulled their ads.
Yeah, people are bizarre.
And you know what? More people are going to watch that show now. I love that groups
And it's
do
an
that.
awful show.
It's not.
Nobody knows about the show.
Right.
I really think that it's the networks that like pay people to protest shows so it gets more press.
Yes. Well,
Howard, they're doing it to
years-
Howard now on NBC.
For years, the Christian Science Monitor had a list of movies that it banned. Movies that your kids shouldn't see. Beyond the rating system, and movies would just die to get the worst rating from them because people would go, well, then we really have to see that movie.
Well, I watched a documentary on how the rating system works. You know how it works? It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's kind
It's
of
very incestuous, and there's a whole appeal process. Like if you get an NC-17 rating in this country, your movie's done. And a lot of these great movies, like Requiem for a Dream. A lot of them. I mean, that's the only one that comes to mind because they highlighted had an NC-17 rating.
right.
And it's not for what you think it has it for.
Right.
Like it's not for that bizarre strip show between Jennifer, what was her name in that movie?
Jennifer
Connelly and like whoever.
Yeah.
The end scene.
Yeah.
It's not for that. It's for something that you do not expect it to be.
Well, it's like it's the government works the same way they got Al Capone. Couldn't get him for killing people, so they got him for tax evasion.
Yeah, like it's for like a gay kiss.
Yeah.
Like in the back for some guy that's not even in the movie.
Right.
Like some guy was walking at, like it's bizarre, like it's weird.
Some point of minutia.
But the whole rating system is a totally corrupt process, and you cannot appeal it. And some guy from some guy that represents the Catholic Church is on the panel of your appeal.
Yeah.
Like it's so bizarre. And you're not supposed to know who the people are that make the decision. It's like this whole hidden thing. And this guy, what he did, he investigated and he outed everybody. Part of the process. Very interesting documentary.
Ooh, I want to know that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I forgot the name. I'll get it to you after the name.
I've seen a couple of good movies.
What'd you
saw The Descendants. And here's really funny. I like George Clooney. I like George Clooney as an actor more than a lot of people. I think he's a really good actor. In this, I think he was really, really, really good. However, I think they needed a plainer person to play the role.
Do you think, and it's interesting you said this, somebody just messaged me, they felt that in that movie Clooney's playing Clooney. Like he's playing the Clooney that people think, of Clooney.
But also he's playing the Clooney with high-waisted pants and a short-sleeve shirt that's really long.
Yeah.
It's like they put him in the dopey guy outfit.
Yeah.
And they, plastered his hair down a little more than it normally is. To me, I think the role would have been better served by casting someone like Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
A guy that looks like he would get trod upon. Because everyone else was cast pretty well. Like the wife wasn't fabulous looking. The guy she had the affair with was Laird Hamilton, the surfer.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, and the guy that the wife has the affair with is not like spectacularly handsome. It was like all very normal. And George Clooney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got to forget that he's the best looking guy in Hollywood.
Right. And Hollywood has always said, Hollywood doesn't cast ugly people. Hollywood casts pretty people and makes them plain.
The best looking person play an ugly person.
Makes them plain. The best was there's a movie about Frankie and Johnny at the Frankie and Johnny. It was Al Pacino, and on Broadway the role was played by Kathy Bates. In the movie, it's played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Frankie and Johnny?
Yeah.
The one with Elvis?
No, Frankie and Johnny at the Claire de Lune, I think it's called.
No, there are two Frankie and Johnnies. There's one in 91, and then there's one...
Yeah, what's the one in 91?
It just says Frankie and Johnny.
Is it just called Frankie and Johnny? The play was called Frankie
with
and
Al
Johnny.
Pacino and Michelle... Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
called Frankie and Johnny. It's not the same Frankie and Johnny.
No. The Frankie and Johnny, the Elvis movie, is based on an old barroom song. Frankie and Johnny.
God, who was the girl? Who? Donna Douglas, right?
That was
what happened to her?
Ellie Mae.
What happened to her?
Ellie Mae looks like she got hit by a truck.
Oof. What a beautiful girl,
and
too.
she walks around like at 70, still dressed as Ellie Mae.
Oh, does she?
Oh yeah, it's kind of sad.
I guess like in that was a weird time for film. Really weird time for film because you kind of got trapped in this weird
Type,
but like
people still get
first of all, they
type.
didn't make money at all. Like there was no money at that point.
Yeah.
I watched a great thing on Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary on him.
Do you know about the movie he has that's in the can about the clown in the concentration camp?
Yes.
He talks about that. Oh, that's
yes.
That's so scary. The clown that walks the children to the gas chamber.
But there are trailers for it.
Yeah.
I've seen that. There was a great documentary on him and his early days with Dean.
Yeah.
It was so fascinating to see how big of stars they were in 46.
They were gigantic. I mean, people have no concept today how big they were.
I mean, they were the Beatles before the Beatles.
They were the Beatles, and when they split up, it was like when the Beatles split up.
Well, they were together 10 years.
Yeah, and Dean just like got tired of being the straight man. He didn't dislike Jerry, but Jerry took it, as this, insane insult.
But Jerry, it was interesting, his career. First of all, if you look at him now, he was a good-looking guy.
Who?
Jerry Lewis. He wasn't a bad-looking guy.
No.
But now the Jerry Lewis that we all know is a senile old guy, that he goes, lady, that's the Jerry Lewis we know.
Right.
It was so interesting to see the documentary and how his career started because he owns rights to everything.
Yeah.
And he says he was so hot at the time, the companies, I guess Paramount and whoever, he signed a crazy deal with Paramount.
For 2 years in a row, they were like the biggest box office draw in the country.
Yeah. It was a different time though. Yeah, Ellie Mae. She's known for Ellie Mae.
Donna,
oh my God.
Donna Douglas.
She's 79 now.
Yeah. 79?
Yeah.
They're all gone except
1932.
her and Max Baer.
But she was beautiful in Frankie and Johnny.
Yeah. Oh, she was hot. Completely hot.
I mean, it's so scary what happens to people. I don't want to get old. I really, really don't want to get old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a scary thing. I guess now it's different. I think
there's a lot more now because look at Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is 74.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda is 74. Raquel Welch is 70.
Jane Fonda's 74?
Yeah.
Oh my God, 1937. Yeah, she looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
73. Yeah, 74. But it has to be difficult still. I guess with enough money and a good plastic surgeon, you could do anything.
Well, yeah, you can, but still, you're still walking around. I don't care how good someone looks. When someone is 30, they walk and behave a certain way. And when they're 40, if you tucked and nipped and everything till they looked 30, they would still walk and behave like they were 40. They would, like, even their mental thought processes are 10 years older.
Jane Fonda and Barbarella.
Oh, yeah.
Smoking.
Yep.
What year was that?
Not sure.
Crazy.
60-something.
Yeah.
It's like 60, 68.
I mean, she's held on. I mean, really well. But you have to... I think nowadays, we're between medication, between...
Right. Well, I said...
plastic surgery.
20 years from now, everyone is going to look 45.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to look any older than 45. I've said this before. You're going to be in a restaurant and some guy's going to keel over and the wife's going to be like, "Oh my God, we were married for 68 years." Because he's going to be 115, but he's going to look perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, how old are you now, Lon?
I'm 53.
53. When you were a kid,
when I was
and
your
you
age,
saw a 53-year-old,
it didn't look like me. It didn't look like Joanna.
What did it fit? Like a grandma?
Yeah,
like an old grandma.
53 was gray-haired. 53, you got paunchy. People were not doing.
Nobody was working out.
Yeah. No one was working out. Working out? Why you do? I worked my whole life so I didn't have to work.
Yeah. I remember my grandfather, my mother's dad, and my mother's dad always looked old to me. Like I was a kid. Like I remember as a kid, so he was probably in his late 50s.
Right.
I always saw him as a 70-something-year-old.
Yeah.
Like that, he always looked like an old guy.
Yeah. It'll work differently. I bet you, like in your mind, your dad actually looks different than he looks like to me. In your mind, your dad looks like he did.
He's still 35. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he'll look 35 for a long time. And then one day, you're going to come in the door, or he's going to come in the door, and you're going to go, "Whoa." When did that happen?
You know what? My dad always looks 40 to me because I remember his 40th birthday. I remember that entire day for whatever reason.
Right.
Just
and to you, he doesn't seem all that different. You got.
Yeah. I mean, to an extent.
I've been bumping into my colleagues that I retired. You know, when I retired from
Yeah.
school, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And I always feel weird because they always say, "You look really good." You know, and I'm
how
like,
are they looking?
Not.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons that I started the boot camp and everything. All my friends, when I turned 50, I had a whole rack of friends that were talking about what hurt, where they were going to retire, and how good the cake was at this diner. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that anymore. It would just make me nuts.
We are at a point, and Brian Monroe in the chat room said, plastic surgery doesn't help eyesight. Yeah, but there are corrective surgeries for your eyesight. We're at the level that we could pretty much with a laser revert your eyesight back. Yes, it's not perfect, but in 20 years, imagine where we're going to be.
Right.
And for memory loss, we are already at the level that we can prevent certain types of memory loss.
Yeah, well, what they're doing with your own stem cells now.
Oh, I mean, you're involved in the Alzheimer's and dementia. You follow that a lot, and you know what they are coming up with.
I'm telling you, they are within like 5 years of a major discovery in that. They cured someone of AIDS. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Multiple times they've done it in different ways, but the problem is
they can't replicate it.
They can't replicate it.
And it seems to be very specific, but they'll find it.
Listen, I think
and then something else will kill us, and then there'll be this giant hurricane, and then the asteroid will come.
All at the same time. And locusts and frogs, and the plague is going to start again.
Right. Every time we find a cure for something worse comes along to take out more of us.
Do you watch Walking Dead?
No, I don't.
Now, it's one of the most fascinating shows on TV, not because of the whole zombie thing, but because they don't really explain to you certain things, and it's not about finding a cure, or most of these shows are about finding a cure and killing them off and the government, eradicating the zombies. In this one, the government is
in cahoots.
Gone. No, the government is finished. They've lost because it spread so fast.
Right.
And it's caused massive failure from above. And it's not about finding a sanctuary or finding a cure or finding the government. It's about surviving.
Right. And this is everyone lives north because zombies can't take. Is that a consistent thing?
That's interesting you say that because those are like the rumors in it that the zombies can't survive up north. They haven't said it in the book. They've said it, but not in the movie and not in the show. But right now, this is taking place in Atlanta. And they travel, and they travel, and they travel. And then a whole season goes by, and you realize they've only gone like 3 miles.
Right, because
there's nowhere to go.
Right.
It's fascinating that could happen. And I always wonder, we worry about so much like this, but you brought it up. If some disaster were to happen, what would we do?
Right. The other thing is, like things like... when Krakatoa was this huge volcano that happened in the very late 1800s.
Yeah.
Where it happened, like 300 people died. That area today, if it happened, like millions of people would die.
Yeah.
Because, there's 7 billion of us now, So things are going to happen in places that happen, happen in the same places, only it's going to impact a whole lot worse.
What I find funny is, when these things happen, these disasters happen, like you'll wonder, there'll be a volcano in front of a fishing village, and there's hundreds of thousands of people living there, and there's a history of this volcano. And again, this is all a concept. I don't know if there's a volcano by a fishing village. I'm just giving an example because everything is literal. Everything is literal on the internet, Lon. Let's not forget that, because I say crazy shit, and I'll get the email saying, "Well, Andrew, you said 99% of people are this, but that's actually not true." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Like if I turn to you and I'm like, "Lon, it's a fact that straight people don't like eggs." Somebody will send me an email saying that's total bullshit, Andrew. You don't know what you're talking about. So there's this village in front of the water. It's a fishing village, hundreds of thousands of people living there. There is a history of this volcano erupting and destroying the village.
And yet people
still go and live by that village. Why? That's what I don't get.
Too funny.
I don't get that. Yeah, I'm looking at Jane Fonda now, by the way.
because it
Like nobody should live in California.
Because it hasn't happened.
Like California should be emptied and everybody should move one state over and make that the new California. Let's just do that.
Yeah, well, once it starts to fall, but it'll have to start to fall first.
Do you remember the whole thing in the 90s that Florida was going to sink? Do you remember that?
Yep.
How did they come up with that concept?
Well, you know what it is? People paid attention to it, so it
Nick
becomes
Gregory's
media
wrong.
I'm a Mr. G man.
But I remember that in the 90s, it was all about Florida being broken off, a mass earthquake hitting. And I remember to the point that there were specials on Fox, like local Fox. They would have like the special on theoretically, what could happen.
Oh, yeah. Well, there is a possible scenario, that there's this underwater mountain shelf that could collapse underwater, creating a tsunami that would travel the Atlantic and wipe out the first 15 or 16 miles
that's us.
Of the coast.
Yeah, that's us. We're right here. But when you were younger, were these natural disaster things or like these end of the world scenarios big?
No,
did people ever talk about
it?
No,
because it's much easier to create a phenomenon now. You used to have rumor. Now you have phenomenons like the world. There were rumors that the world was going to sink, and they kind of buzzed around, but it never got into the news.
Yeah.
Now it's like a news story.
By the way, a chatter, GFQ viewer 43, I can't see, 53 says, well, I'd hope the fishing village would be in front of the water. It's brilliant. Great
It's
comment.
Poland.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, God, I'm going to get...
But, so that really did not exist. Nobody discussed the end of the world.
Right. Well, you know what? You know who gets to
I'm talking like you're a kid.
You know who gets to discuss the end of the world? People that know that the world isn't going to end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you were this is one of the reasons human beings have invented roller coasters because we're not running away from bear enough. You know what I mean? In our daily lives.
Sure.
If they were giant saber-toothed tigers
it's the end of the
chasing us,
world.
yeah, if we had stuff to worry about, or, if we had to plow the back 40 and can all our food for the winter in order to survive, we wouldn't be going, I'm suffering from existential angst.
Well, you're post baby boomer. I mean, you're.
Well, I'm solidly a baby boomer.
Are you?
Yeah.
What,
baby boomer.
You fall into that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Baby boomer goes to 65. Anyone born up to 65 is considered a baby boomer.
And then 65 to what is, I guess, Generation X.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought I was Gen X, but I'm not.
No, you're post Gen X.
I'm Gen Y. I'm one after, but I think that it goes to let me see, Generation X. So 65 on. I'm getting a ban, by the way. Oh, here we go. Generation X is a generation born after a Western post-World War II baby boom end. That describes nothing to me. Typically, people born in the early 60s through the early 80s. No later than 81 or 82.
Yeah. I was always told 65 was the last year of the baby boomers. Because it was the 20 years. Realized in 20 years is a generation almost.
Yeah, this one sucks. So, yeah, you're a baby boomer, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're at the tail end.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for the downfall of the world.
Baby boomers, yeah, well, Joanna and I joke because the difference in our age, because Joanna's a little bit older than I am.
Yeah.
She, in 1969, she really, really wanted to go to Woodstock. She was a little too young to go, but she really, really wanted to go, wanted to be there. In 1969, I was worried if Batman was going to get away from the Riddler. That's where my head was,
You're watching a shitty Batman show?
Adam West. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was the worst. No,
but it was when I watched it, it wasn't even funny. It was wow, that's really amazing.
No, yeah, you looked at it as the greatest thing on TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're saying it's the subculture or the counterculture.
Yeah.
Screwed up everything for me.
I was too young to be a hippie and too old to be a yuppie.
Yeah, see, Jess's grandparents were total hippies.
Yeah.
Woodstock, lived on a commune, traveled, sure dropped a lot of acid. I'm positive. They were out there with that stuff. I'm looking here. Yeah, 50. Yeah, I guess up to the early 80s. That's interesting how they do this. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Nobody cares about the new generations. It's all useless stuff.
Well, because everyone. Well,
but I'll ask you this.
everything has been subdivided into smaller and smaller groups. Like when I was growing up, there was the music charts. There wasn't gospel and country crossover, and I mean, there are Grammys in like 6,000 subjects now.
Oh yeah, stuff that you never see on
there's
TV.
Foreign language, liner notes. It's just nuts.
But there was no like the world is going to end in 1976. Like that did not exist when you were young, right? Like you never had that happen.
Have what happened?
Like you never had the whole, the world's going to end in 1976. Like that did not exist. Like there was no 1 year.
Actually, during junior high school, there's this one day it went through, and it was like one day.
And
like
what was
that
it?
morning you walk up, the world was going to end at like 10:23. And,
okay.
And no one said anything. The one thing that happened is that one of my teachers wrote, without saying anything, the same rumor happened in my classroom in the ninth grade.
But was it local or had it spread?
No, it was local. It was
local.
It was like in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And
I guess you're right. I guess the fact that the internet did not exist and this everything was very localized and it wasn't like the national platform for information. Like you guys never watched the national news. You watched local news.
No.
You had you had
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, Walter Cronkite. But I mean, it wasn't like MSNBC, CNN, ABC, Fox. Like everybody competing to each other. I guess that's what changed it. I'm trying to think. Somebody asked me now when was the earliest memory that I had of something like that happening, and I have to think it was probably. I remember when I was a kid, they would say 1996. There was going to be something, and then I remember.
On Wikipedia, there's a list of every time the world was supposed to end. And they seem to
really?
have started in the year 1000. There don't seem to be a lot of. Again, no one worried about the end of the world when your daily life was going to kill you. Do you know what I mean?
So when did it start? The year 1000?
Yeah, if you look up Wikipedia, like end of the world.
End of the world. Okay, I'm looking at this now. End of the world in religion. End of the world in music. I don't want songs. I want just in doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
World ending. Here we go. World ending novels. End of the world. Oh my God, there's so much. This is not going to work.
Yeah. I found a Wikipedia listing and it had a list of every date that.
No, I think I know what you're talking about. Because I think I've seen it too. Well, they say it's in every religion. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
That there's a scenario, but
it's a cleansing. It's always a cleansing. The second coming, all the bad people are weeded out, and only the good people are left. Of course, no one can agree who the good people are.
Okay, 1914 was supposed to be the end of the world. That was one. So that's probably the earliest modern, idea of the world ending.
I don't know. There were ones in like the 1800s and the 1700s.
Well, I guess you know what it was? Like from the World Wars. I guess that was the first view of a globalized end of the world scenario.
Right. Well,
because that was Armageddon.
The atom bomb changed human thinking. Morbid humor, like dead baby jokes and that sort of thing.
That didn't exist.
That didn't exist before because the world was a gentler place when we knew we couldn't blow each other up, even though there were wars. Now we could actually literally tear the planet apart. Literally tear it apart.
I watch a lot of these World War II documentaries, and to a lot of people, that was the end of the world.
Yeah.
That was Armageddon. I mean, the fact that everything was destroyed. I mean,
Joe
it was
just
done.
read a really interesting book about the guy that was the U.S. ambassador to Germany as Hitler was coming to power, like in 1933, and it was like he was a Cassandra. He kept saying to the United States government, "You gotta watch this guy. He's a fucking lunatic."
Yeah.
And they were like, no, because Hitler was like making Germany strong again, and Germany needed to be strong because they were such a financial burden to the rest of the world because everyone had kicked the crap out of the country in World War I.
Yeah.
So Hitler was like getting World War II together. Hitler was getting Germany together pre-World War II, and everyone was kind of happy that was happening because we no longer had to, babysit Germany.
But I guess that was the first real end of the world scenario for many people. I mean, Europe was totally destroyed. the United States dropped this crazy bomb that destroyed everything, and that really set everything up after
and
that.
everything else that we're like that has contributed to doomsday scenarios. Everyone has contact now, so everyone can talk about it, and it creates this.
And that's when the whole alien UFO stuff started too.
Yeah.
During that war.
Yeah.
You know, I read this really interesting thing, and I don't know if I spoke about it on the show. I was watching this documentary on the Roswell incident, and they were talking about a book. And I looked up the book, and in the book, it claims an extremely logical concept to what happened. And in this concept, he says, after the war, a lot of the German planes and a lot of the German technologies was split between the Soviets and the Americans.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the Germans had was this stealth plane, which we know about. I forgot it was Horton made it. I forgot the model. And it was
Horton doesn't hear a who.
Horton doesn't hear the who, yeah. And it's this stealth plane. Well, after the war, the Soviets got it, and they want to see if it'll work. So Stalin advised that they put funny writing on the front to kind of mask it, and they took 2 deformed pilots, short deformed pilots, to fly the plane. And the thing was, well, if the Americans get it, they're not going to know it's us because they don't speak. They have a speech problem, and they look deformed, I guess, from the war. They were burned badly. He was trying to make it seem like they came from space. Well, what happened? The plane crashed in Roswell, and that's how the story came up. But it actually was 2 pilots from the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And that's the story. I mean, and they had the guys for a couple of years, and it took America many years to figure out what had happened. And that's one of the concepts. I'm like, you know what? That's a very logical explanation of what's going on.
Yeah.
I could believe that more than a weather balloon or aliens crashing in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I could believe that a lot more, that the Soviets came here, because what's worse? Yeah. Outer space beings falling, or the Soviets actually coming to America and we had no clue.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot worse than that at that time, 1947, 48.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a crazy concept.
Yeah. Scarier things are sometimes easier because they're broader. They're more black and white.
Well, you've said something very interesting. You've said with the whole conspiracy theory, and I actually quote you on this all the time, it's easier to believe we did it to ourselves than to believe somebody else could do it.
Right.
A weather balloon, we did it. Aliens, we didn't do it, but who's going to compete with aliens?
Yeah.
We there's no control over that. I mean, there's nothing we can do.
But if it's an outside force that
could actually harm us.
I think that's one of the things that why 9/11 rocked people so much.
Because, like the concept, yeah.
Because that someone from the outside could do this, because we're such an isolated country. Literally, we're isolated, and we have Canadians to the north who aren't really thinking about attacking us that I know of.
Who knows?
I have a Canadian friend. She'd probably want to kick the crap out of me, but then there's also Mexico, where we that's the biggest alien invasion is from Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, and what's going to go on there?
Wouldn't it be great if aliens actually looked like Mexicans, spoke Spanish? I mean, from other planets.
Yeah.
They were Hispanic. That would be great.
I think we're all aliens at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But I love the conspiracy theory stuff. I mean, it just makes my day.
Well, what I love is that people are never just content with a little bit of conspiracy theory. Once they're going,
they'll go.
And then it's like, and then because he did that, he must have been, and they tie everything into it. Like this, it must have been aliens, and they had, this is the reason the Lost Tribe disappeared in Roanoke, Virginia, and the Anastasi disappeared. I mean, it's like,
what, you've never heard of the moth? The whole Mothman. Have you heard what the story is?
No, not fully.
There was a movie called The Mothman Prophecies.
Right.
I forgot what the movie was about exactly, but apparently there's this Mothman that came from outer space, and he haunted this village, this town in West Virginia, and that's where it started. And there were hundreds of accounts of people running into this Mothman. And hundreds of people have said they saw him.
Right.
And it's this whole documentary and this investigation of the Mothman. It's absolutely awful. It's one of the worst things I've seen, but I was amazed by it. And I'm thinking, hundreds of people are claiming to see this. I wonder how many of them actually saw it.
Right.
Like, because things spread like wildfire.
Well, everyone is always like, there's this monumentally bad Broadway musical. Was it called Moose Murders? I think it was called Moose Murders. It was really bad. And, you know, the rumor is, for around theater people, you can find 30 or 40,000 people that were at the 6 performances of Moose Murders when there was only 1,000 tickets, total. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everyone was, oh yeah, I was there when it happened. Because everyone wants to tag.
But that's how
along
people are.
Yeah, they want to tag. They want to get attached to history.
Well, 9/11 is the same thing. I can't even begin to tell you how many people I know that have these accounts of what happened on 9/11, like their story, and I remember where they were.
Yeah.
And it's not what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like their story changes.
Yeah. And the thing about a lie told a lot of times becomes somebody's truth.
I don't think it's a lie being told. I think the story changes each time you say it.
Right.
And the one extra thing that you added to the story becomes, a bigger thing. Like it's like that crazy epic party you went to when you were in high school.
Yeah. If you really had a film of it, it would be
like, I can't believe this is it.
Yeah. Well, I always remember my mom telling me, she and her brother, my uncle, used to put their head between the rail posts of this house to watch Santa put presents under the tree. It was my grandfather.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I ruined that for anyone. And the staircase was like really, really tall. And my mother went and visited the house that she grew up in. And she couldn't get her hand between the 2 rails. It was like 3 stairs.
Oh my God.
And my mother goes, I just remember the staircase being gigantic.
Yeah.
And now it's like 3 stairs that you could jump from, the top to the bottom,
Well, I think that's what happens.
Yeah. It builds in your head. Everything remembered is bigger, better,
Sure.
worse,
Yeah.
It's just amplified.
Well, I guess with do you remember what do you remember as a kid? Like what was a major event to you as a kid?
I actually remember the Kennedy assassination.
Okay. And how big of a deal was it?
It was huge.
Well, because you were
I was 5.
Yeah, but it was you were in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was big there too.
Yeah.
But it was the president of the United States getting killed. That was huge. It was bigger than they haven't had a president assassinated since then.
No, we had attempts.
Yeah,
we had the Reagan attempt, but
right.
But how big was it? How did it impact?
It shut down the world.
Yeah.
It shut down the world. It didn't shut down the United States. It shut down the world. Because he was the handsome president. He was the new president.
He was the one that was going to change everything.
Right. And
yeah.
was amidst changing it, whether you think so or not, the impression of to the
for
world.
good or bad, yeah.
That this is what was happening.
Well, it was Camelot. It was this beloved.
Right. So someone killed the king of Camelot.
And then what was it like when they killed Robert?
When Robert was killed?
Yeah.
Well, realize that Robert was killed June 6th of 68. Martin Luther King was killed 6 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
So people were
So how was
really
that
crumbled.
actually? How was that as?
All I remember was just the racial implications. It was just and then when James Earl Ray,
I'm sure the first thing was it a white guy?
and it was
Yeah.
it was James Earl Ray,
Yeah.
who for years said, yeah, I did it, and then 20 years into a sentence,
Said
went, I never did it.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
But it had to have been, somebody said, people got numb after Kennedy. Yeah, I would imagine so.
Well, realized we went from there, and then the hippie thing got big, and then kind of
Fell apart.
Yeah. In the very early 70s. And then look at music in the early 70s.
Well, because it became mainstream.
Yeah.
But the hippie thing, it's because the Vietnam War was happening, and that was the battle. That was the fight. And I think people realize, most
people don't realize that the Vietnam
It was a
War,
bad
our
time.
involvement was till 1975.
Oh, yeah.
In Vietnam.
Yeah.
Some people think it ended in the late 60s or the very
Oh,
early
no,
70s.
no.
It went all the way to 75. That evacuation with the helicopter taking people off the embassy roof.
When you realize it, when there's a guy that was in Vietnam that's fairly young, because now they're getting older.
Yeah.
And then you find someone that was there, like, oh, I was there for a couple of months, and I was there, at the end.
Did you hear that the Pearl Harbor people are not gathering yearly now because there's like 6 Pearl Harbor survivors alive?
Well, there's not many left. I mean, the World War II guys actually.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them now. They're kind of grouping with the Vietnam guys.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of the activities because it's going to be interesting when the last guy. I mean, there's still a lot of people from World War II alive.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands, because there were so many young people.
If you were 20, we came into the war.
Yeah, but a lot of them were in 16, 17 years old. They were in the war.
Yeah. My dad was underage.
Okay, so if you were in the war,
we came into the war in 41, right? Yeah, 41. That's when Pearl Harbor was.
No, Pearl Harbor was 41.
Yeah. Yeah, the war started in 39 officially. World War II was declared in 42. American involvement started in 1941. Yeah, we were in the
41. December 4. Yeah, I was going to say 42, but it is
41 through 45. So we were basically, I mean, December 7th, 1941. So we were almost not in it in 41. It was like 42, 43, 44. 3 years, 1 month, and then it went to August. 8 months, 3 years and 9 months was our involvement in World War II.
45 it ended.
Yeah, April.
So imagine you were at the end. I mean, and you were 20 years old and 45.
20 years, 45. That means you were 40 and 65. You were 60 and 85. You were 80 and yeah, they're 90 now.
So they're getting
90.
up there. 88, 89. You could get away with an 88-year-old.
Yeah. They're all in there. They're all in there. At the very least, they're in their late 80s now.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of vets left. What became interesting was they started, I marched in a drum and bugle corps.
Yeah.
For years, they were asking people from drum and bugle corps and marching bands to play taps at veterans' funerals because they usually had a serviceman do it, but so many servicemen were dying, because they were just reaching the age that people died. People were dying, of natural causes per se, natural causes in their 70s and 80s, and they were dying at such a rapid rate that they couldn't get soldiers to soldiers' funerals, veterans' funerals quick enough, to play taps. My father-in-law was a veteran, and when they played taps for him, but it was a recording.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of them at this point, it's a recording.
I've been really into the World War II stuff, and I was watching this thing on
You got to read this
Mussolini.
book. You got to read this book that Joe did about the ambassador to Germany. He was the United States ambassador to Germany in 1933.
Mm-hmm.
He was like I said, he was like a Cassandra. He saw what was happening, and he kept saying to the United States
this
government,
guy's out of his mind.
This guy's out of his mind. They were like, no, it's all good.
Well, even the British. Who was the king that got exiled? I forgot his name.
No, you mean he stepped down?
He stepped down, but they kind of sent him away to like the Bahamas.
Yeah.
What was his name? Married the actress.
Mrs. Simpson. He married Mrs. Simpson.
I can't remember the name. King Edward?
Yeah, Edward.
Edward, yeah. The whole thing was that
he was only king for like a
very
month.
short time, but he actually was not against Germany.
Yeah, that's the king's speech was about the guy that replaced the one that stepped down.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating thing, but I was watching this thing on Mussolini's war, and it was such an interesting story because they loved him.
Oh yeah.
Until the end, till they shot him, and then they hung him up in the streets. But they were saying how he was not and at the end they said the whole fear was that the communists were going to come in, and that the fascists were fighting the communists. And that's what the killing of Mussolini was about. It really didn't have to do with the war and the awfulness. It was about communists trying to come into the country.
What we're taught history-wise is such a broad paint stroke.
It's not what it was.
It's sort of, but the real important things are so often missed. Like the little things that led to World War I, the fact that Archduke Ferdinand in Yugoslavia was killed, this was like one of the major things. And you're like, what does that have to do?
Yeah, what does that have to do? But that's what started the war.
Yeah.
And France was, there were two people fighting for France. There were two leaders in France. And then the whole thing in Africa. Like Africa played a major role in the war.
And there was a whole pre-Nazis. There was a movement to get Jews out of France.
Yeah. Well, France is for many, it's the French have been very anti-Semitic, and my family was kicked out of France. I don't know if you know that.
No.
My mother's side, they had gone to France, and my grandmother's Catholic, so she was able to get everybody in, but they ended up trying to kick everybody out because the other half of the family, because they weren't French, they weren't Catholic.
Nuts.
So my entire family left France, but my mother's side, my grandmother's brother lives in France, and they've been in France for a long time, and they're French. You know, they have 2 French kids, and it's very interesting how bizarre it is. All right, we got to wrap it up. We have another show coming up in a little bit. Go to our website, guysfromqueens.com. Also, go to gfqlive.tv. Lon, any plugs?
Listen, if you're from the Bayside area, you want to hit Better Body Boot Camp, go to BaysideFatLoss.com. That'll show you. And listen, everyone, Merry Christmas from me and Joe and Aggie. Okay? Good night, all.
Good night.